My name is Tammie Frye, and I'm the missions director here at Catering Baptist Church. My husband does all the computer and sound stuff in the back. We have 3 children. Michael and Laura are here in the youth group at Frye. And then our 3rd child is a 6-year-old girl named Nastia Kate, who is currently in the Ukraine. 2 weeks from today, I will be on a plane at this time going to get her. And so that's a really exciting event for our family. You know, all my life, I've known that I wanted to do something to make a difference in the world. I remember when I was a teenager, like most of you, and sitting there and thinking, you know, God, there's got to be something more. It's not just go to church and read my Bible and do things that I need to do for me. There's got to be some way I can make a difference. And for our family, adoption has been one of those ways. Another difference is through compassion. That's what a lot of this weekend is about. I've been a compassion child sponsor for 15 years. I started sponsoring a little boy named Shawinski. You can see his little picture there when he was 4. This past week, I wrote my last letter to him in the form of a graduation card because he's now 19 and he graduates from the Compassion program. So that's been another exciting way that I feel like that I have made a difference in someone's life. 2 years ago, I read the book Radical by David Platt. That'll really shake your world. You got to be ready to really want to make a difference when you read that. Then last year, I read a book by a lady named Jen Hatmaker. It's a book called 7. And it was about trying to get some of the excess stuff out of our lives and really focus on God and what our needs really were and how our excess could go to help others. And through that, I started researching something called fair trade. And the word fair trade itself, or kind of a logo for a specific company, a specific organization that works hard to make sure the goods that we purchase are made and workers are given fair wages and there's no child slavery or abuse involved. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I am not an expert on fair trade. I'm just someone who's concerned about a better life for others in the world, and so I try and do the best research I can to decide what are the best products for me and my family so as to provide a good life for others around me. Now it's not easy to go out and just buy a lot of fair trade products. So often I find that what I have to do is to make the best choice of those who may not be certified as fair trade, but they're making the best efforts in their products. Now, I'm not here to tell you where to shop or to encourage boycotts of any particular store or product or item. However, I am going to urge you to be aware of what you're buying and know the price that others might pay so that we can have some of these luxuries. Because if we stop and really think, most of what we American Christians have in our lives today can be considered luxuries. For the majority of the world's population, as you see through the compassion videos, just having food, water, and a hut to live in are the focus of their day-to-day lives. They don't think about fair trade purchases because the only issue in their life is just survival. For us, it seems like we have an insane amount of choices that we make every day. We're hungry. We want a snack on a Hershey bar or a Nestle Crunch. Maybe we just stop by Starbucks. If I need a new outfit, maybe I'll go to Kohl's, Aeropostale, Target, Walmart. So many choices, so many products. But how do these choices affect others? And where do these products come from? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because the honest truth is that sadly, most of these products were either harvested by children that you see in the video or produced in a sweatshop by workers who may be enslaved or abused, forced to be there against their will. And you may say, well, I buy everything that says made in the USA, so I'm good. Well, most of you take it in history class, so you know that the United States owns territories. There are 5 inhabited U.S. territories, and they are allowed to use the Made in USA label, even though their products may have been sweatshop produced. So we sadly can't count on the fact just because it says Made in USA that it wasn't produced under slave labor. If it was produced in a sweatshop, that means there may have been a kid younger than most of you who worked 15, 16, 18-hour days with no breaks, no water breaks, no bathroom breaks. I know some of us may not want to go without a couple hours without a snack or always have a bottle of water or a cup of coffee in our hand. But that's not the case for these folks. Maybe it was a mom who saw an advertisement for a job in a neighboring country and thought, if I can go and get that job, I can have enough money to send back home to feed my family. And when she gets there, she realizes she's trapped. Some hot items in fair trade are coffee and chocolate. Now you have your chocolate bar, your Reese's cup, your Cadbury egg, but where does it come from? And you saw the video, you saw the young boy who was harvesting the large cocoa beans and chopping them up with the machetes there. But who grew these plants? Who harvested them? Who purchased and shipped them to the U.S. so we can have our Starbucks and all of our favorite items? Often it's the children who work the fields, climb the trees, use the dangerous tools, carry heavy loads to provide this luxury for us. Often they may be taken against their will. Sometimes they may be sold just so their family can have another meal for the next day. Regardless of how it happens, these conditions are ruthless. So what is fair trade and how can we make a difference? Fair trade is a method by which it is guaranteed that these farms and these factories are run fairly, that child labor is not involved, and that fair wages are paid to the workers. Now, another organization similar to fair trade is the Rainforest Alliance. Rainforest Alliance also guarantees fair treatment of workers, but they also strive to help the environment and protect our earth. And you can recognize these products from the logos that you will see on them. Now, it would just be so easy if we could just say, okay, from now on, I'm only going to buy things that have the fair trade certified or the rainforest or a similar type label on them. And we go out and do that and everything is good. But unfortunately, it's not that easy. Because there are not that many products out there that have that high certification right now. Because I know if they did, just like me, you wouldn't want to knowingly buy a product that you knew involved child labor. None of us would. So what are we going to do? I often find that I have to choose the companies that seem to be making the best effort to become fair trade and to monitor the origins of their products. I know that most articles of clothing today were probably made under terrible conditions. And those with a fair trade label, which usually I can only find online, are also quite expensive. And if you read publications from some folks who are really hardcore, nothing but fair trade, you will see them say that there's absolutely nowhere we can shop at. However, what I find I have to do is do my research online. Most stores have their policy. You look for their sustainability, their supply chain. See if they honestly seem to be making an effort. Most of the stores that I've looked at some that I like to shop at, Target, Kohl's, and their policies state that they monitor their vendors, and they expect their vendors to monitor the supply chain. Kohl's, for instance, states that to date, it has done over 26,000 inspections in 5,000 factories in 75 countries. And to me, this shows that at least they are making an effort to try and make sure that their products come from a reliable source. Now, there's always controversy over Walmart. I've never been a big Walmart fan, just for different reasons. But they have a good policy. But in my research, I found several cases along the way of instances where they have been accused and often convicted of policies that abuse the rights of people, even here in the U.S. So you have to do your research. Sometimes I look and say, well, you know, the policy sounds good. Do they have any cases pending against them? And a lot of that you can find out if you do your research. Now, for me personally, the best way that I like to address fair trade is I shop at consignment stores, thrift stores, yard sales. First, it saves money. And for me, the more money I can save means the more money I can give. Second, it's good for the environment because I'm reusing something that's already here. You know, most of what you see here, except for my compassion shirt, came from a thrift store or a yard sale or something like that. And so I'm reusing what's already here. Then, if I'm buying used goods, I can be 100% certain that none of my money is going to finance a new sweatshop. And depending on where I shop, often the money that I'm spending is going to a good cause. I shop at yard sales that may benefit church missions. I've been to people's adoption yard sales. I use there's a little thrift store in Hartsville. It's the Tennessee Valley Outreach. And our Case Spring Church goes once a month and feeds a meal there. This is a thrift store that also benefits that ministry. So I'm doing a lot of good things just by changing my shopping habits a little bit. Now, what about candy? We all love the candy. But unfortunately, I cannot afford to pay $3.69 for a Green and Black's organic, fair trade certified chocolate bar. So I have to research and see who is doing the best job. Now, my favorite candy bar happens to be the Nestle Crunch Bar. That's the one that I love. And so I researched Nestle. And recently they have stated that they are pledging to be a leader in the cocoa industry production. Now, only time will tell, but as I do more research, they have a Nestle plan that they have laid out of how they are involved in the community, involved with education, how they supply new trees for the farmers to grow to replenish their crops. To me, that seems like a good thing. So I'm going to keep eating my Nestle Crunch Bar. I'm going to keep watching Nestle to be sure that they're fulfilling the pledge that they have made. In recent months, there's been a big campaign against Hershey. Raise the bar, Hershey, because they wanted the people want them to step up and to be sure that their cocoa comes from a good place. Well, it finally came to the point that there were petitions. Whole Foods, the big carrier of some high-end Hershey chocolates. And so consumers put pressure on Whole Foods. They said, we're not going to buy your high-end Hershey unless Hershey steps up. Therefore, Whole Foods turns around, puts the pressure on Hershey. And in the last couple of months, Hershey has pledged that it is going to step up and certify all of its cocoa by 2020. Now, they've yet to put out specifics on how they're going to do that, but I'm going to keep watching and see what's going to happen with the Hershey bar. Then there's coffee. Now, when it comes to teenagers, I guess your primary interest in coffee is probably Starbucks. And you know, Josh has talked about that. I had shared information with him. Now, let me clarify just a few details, and this was just made clear as I was further reading this week. I had told Josh that 86% of their coffee is fair trade. And it's still a good thing here, but it's 76% is by a similar fair trade organization. It is third-party certified by the Coffee and Farmers Equity. There's 10% that has the actual fair trade label. But overall, Starbucks still is the largest purchaser in the world of fair trade coffee. They bought over 40 million pounds of fair trade coffee in 2009. So that, for me, still gives Starbucks a thumbs up for their coffee. And when you buy it in the store, you're probably not going to see the little fair trade label, but you can know that most of their coffee has been checked out by a third party to see where it's coming from. But the coffee that's in the pot today, I picked this up, and I was really excited to find this, because this is the Archer Farms brand from Target. It is organic. It is fair trade. This is fair trade certified. Has a little logo there from Honduras. It also has a little Save the Children label, which says that they are also involved in education in this community in Honduras. And this didn't cost anyone, it was like $7.99. Didn't cost any more than any other regular bag of coffee that I might otherwise have purchased. Yet I made a difference for the farmers in Honduras and educating the children there. So this was a good product that I was excited to find in Target yesterday. So the bottom line for me is that fair trade is a complex issue. Often as I'm researching, I might find conflicting reports, and I have to go back and forth and kind of weigh what I find out about different companies and different products. It's hard to know who to trust, and it's hard to locate the fair trade certified label. But the important thing, I think, for us here today is to be aware. Know what you're purchasing. Know where it comes from. Don't be blinded and think that everyone in the world lives like we do. Be aware of the issues that surround human trafficking, sweatshops, child labor, slavery. As Christians, we live what most would consider to be extravagant lives here in America. And it is our responsibility to know about the suffering that's beyond our line of sight and how we can make a difference. For me, one way way to make a difference across the world is to pray. In the mornings when I get dressed, I'll pull a shirt out of my closet, and the first thing I made a habit to do is look at the tag. This long sleeve shirt I'm wearing underneath here was made in Honduras. I think about who made this shirt. Was it a child? Was it a mother hoping for a better life for her family? And in what conditions did they come to make this? And I pray for them that somehow they could have the freedom and a better life for their family, that they could be paid the fair wages that they deserve. And some may say, well, you know, at least they have a job. If it wasn't for this, they'd have no income at all. Well, I don't think that's the case. Because violence, abuse, and torture for pennies that they'll probably never receive, that's not a job. That's slavery. So to wrap this all up as a way of helping, I want to bring it back to compassion. Maybe we can't buy all fair trade products all the time. But when we give to compassion, we are providing a better life for someone. I sponsored Shawinski in Haiti for 15 years. And because of that sponsorship, his family didn't have to resort to desperate measures. He was able to get an education. He'll be able to get a job. When he has a family, he'll be able to provide for his family. Any gift that we give to compassion changes a life.